You're listening to Strictly Creative, hosted by Garmamie, where we speak to artists, creators, and storytellers shaping the world around us. On Saturday, November 1st, at the National Arts Center in Ottawa, CKCU-FM celebrated its upcoming 50th anniversary with a special live broadcast. The event captured everything community radio stands for: music, stories, and the spirit of togetherness that has defined CKCU since 1975. Two of the station's long-running and much-loved radio shows, Canadian Spaces and The Back 40, were broadcast live from Peter A. Herrndorf Place, featuring a stellar lineup of local musicians and conversations with longtime hosts and fans. CKCU first hit the airwaves on November 15, 1975, opening with Joni Mitchell's "You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio." It became the first campus-based community radio station in Canada, a platform for inclusion, creativity, and stories not often heard in mainstream media. During the event, Garmamie spoke with Michael Houston, also known as Tick, host of Wednesday Special Blend, about CKCU's history and its evolution through the decades.
The big feature here is this reel-to-reel tape deck. Everything used to be produced on that. Everything. Shows, today we use software. It's drag and drop, cut and paste. Well, think of the drag and dropping of me moving that tape. That's the drag and the drop. And the cut was a razor blade. You'd actually physically cut the tape, make a mark, splice it together, next. On that machine.
Do you miss those days?
I sure do. I do.
He also interviewed Lia Kiessling, CKCU's station director, who reflected on the station's deep connection to the Ottawa community and the importance of local storytelling.
It's to really just bring it back to its roots, which is community, to be out and about in Ottawa-Gatineau, to be doing performances like this, to be having panel discussions, to work with other community organizations around Ottawa to see how we can build and bolster up, that amazing spirit that's already there in Ottawa. That's why I love this city. I mean, I came back to this city a number of times, and I'm here for good. And it's such an inspiring place because of that community spirit and local culture that's here. And how can CKCU partner and work with other organizations to bring that up? How can we start really bringing awareness to the importance of community, especially in a time like this?
This is Strictly Creative. Let's get to the interviews.
I am known as Tick, T-I-C, no K. My real name is Michael Houston. I do a show weekly on Wednesdays called Wednesday Special Blend from 7 to 9:30.
What's the story behind the nickname?
It's funny you ask. In the old days at CKCU, I've been volunteering since 1983. I was on the technical side of things, and we all had handles or nicknames. And one of the things I used to do, because I was there after hours, and I learned so much about the station, is that I was able to answer the phone after hours. And I was able to answer people's phone calls. Like if they had a question, it's like, I know the answer. So TIC, T-I-C, stands for Telephone Information Coordinator. So it's my handle or nickname. It's stuck. And you know what? It stands out in a crowd. If I hear somebody call TIC from across the room, I'll hear it as opposed to Mike or Michael.
That's a cool story right there. So first question I'd like to ask is, what makes this radio station special to the community after all these years?
Oh my. We are the best radio station in Canada. We are campus-based, but we are community-oriented. We do get funding from the campus community, but it is the community that listens to us, and it is a campus community radio, and our programming reflects the diversity of a community, and our music programming is unlike any other because we have specialists. We have the best jazz, we have the best blues. This afternoon, we have Canada's longest disco show. Canada's longest reggae show is coming up. This has been on the air since 1976. And we have limited advertising. You can read that into no advertising, or it's very limited. And you'll never hear the same song twice because this music is being curated by some of Canada's most professional experts in those particular fields. As I said earlier, the best jazz, the best blues. We have hip hop shows. We have alternative. We have a metal show. We have the folk show going on right now, bluegrass. You name the show, we have it, and we have the expert human beings behind it relaying that information to you. And then, our multicultural programming, it's devoted to that particular diaspora, and they get the news. And this is the only place, other than some radio stations outside the area. Some of them are more commercial, but we're the ones able to provide information. We're not professionals. We're all volunteers, and our scheduling follows a program schedule, much like old days TV. So, Tuesday night at 7 at night is not the same as a Thursday night at 7. You must check our program schedule for the best in our programming.
Now, how has the station changed since it first started 50 years ago? I know that's a big question, but
I have the answer. Good questions start with good science. So, the station actually goes back to 1961. A bunch of students gathered in the halls, the tunnels of Carleton. They said we should have a radio show, radio stuff, and they managed to get that on some commercial radio stations. In 1970, CKCU was AM. It was AM 670 on the AM dial. We had a frequency, but we only broadcast in the tunnels and the buildings at Carleton University. Those wires were strung by volunteers and the engineer at the time. Then the station manager in 1974, Randy Williams, and a whole other team behind him, they fought and they got an FM license, and we went on the air in 1975. So in 1975, we can say that's when the clock started. This November will be 50 years. You'll hear reference to 50, but we're still 49 years old until we blow out the candles on November 15th. Things are different, of course, from a technology point of view. If you look behind you, you'll see an old Macintosh computer that our magazine, the best magazine ever in Ottawa. We used to do it monthly. We did it for about 15 years, and it was all produced on that little Macintosh computer. Then, of course, you can see some old radios. There's a picture of 93.1. That was done by volunteers where they papered up the windows to achieve that look. Can't do it anymore, of course, because of security, but it was an amazing way of advertising our station.
What year was that? Do you remember?
This particular picture, I took it before I was a volunteer. So this picture, I believe, is in 1980, I think. That was the last year it was done. And it was only done at funding drive. It was like a funding drive event for volunteers. They would meet at the station. They had a plan. They cut the paper, stick them in the windows, and you had to have certain lights on and certain lights off. What else we got there? We have little bits and pieces, of course, from the station, including the very first tape deck over there that was used before FM. That was a portable reel-to-reel quarter-inch deck, not a cassette deck, open reel tape deck. Just below that, you'll see a green telephone. That's how we were able to do live remotes. Today, we're doing a live remote in the background, and we're using technology. Basically, it's called a tie line, and we're beaming the output, the music there, via internet, think cell phone, and it's going to the station where we bring it up on a fader. That all used to be done in that green telephone. The telephone there was one at the station. There was one here, let's say. We'd be able to talk to each other. Ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. Ready? Set. 3, 2, 1. Go. Bring up the fader. You'll also see where it says number 1 and 2. That was Sony's first CD players. Of course.
First CD player.
First CD players ever invented. Of course, by
Canada's first ever. Wow.
World's first CD players. We got it. So Sony invented or tried to, of course, market the CD player. So they gave us that system. They gave it to us because they wanted us to play CDs. CDs were new. Of course, they were being rejected by a lot of musical purists. We still liked our vinyl. So Sony gave us that. And some people liked it. Some people hated it. But that was the world's first CD players, and Sony gave them to us. I think they gave about 10 across Canada. And that was just marketing. They just wanted us to play CDs. Of course, it was a good machine. Some people liked it. It had its quirks. And of course, it was very complicated with the dial. You had to press buttons and stuff. The other part is just a part of the transmission tube. I guess I digress. The big feature here is this reel-to-reel tape deck. Everything used to be produced on that. Everything. Shows. Today we use software. It's drag and drop, cut and paste. Well, think of the drag and dropping of me moving that tape. That's the drag and the drop. And the cut was a razor blade. You'd actually physically cut the tape, make a mark, splice it together, next. On that machine.
Do you miss those days?
I sure do. I do. This one here, I made a 30-second joke ad. It required 106 edits. So 106 razor blade cuts in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
It's a 30-second ad. And I had to, because I wanted an effect. And there was no electronics to make effects. We could put a slight echo on things, but there was no such thing as effects. Effects were made by being ingenious, by using tape in a crazy, creative way. Do I miss it? Yeah. There was a certain joy of cutting the tape and hearing it and just finding the place where you want it to cut. So
do people still work like that? Is there space for that anywhere, for the next generation to kind of appreciate, previous methodologies?
Well, it's funny you say that because I say it to everyone I meet. It's like time marches backwards. What's old becomes new again. You might have heard that vinyl disappeared. Guess what? It's back.
Oh, yes.
Cassettes disappeared, and now artists are releasing their music on cassette. It's like I say, if you don't give me a free cassette deck, what's the point? But people are restoring cassette decks. Some younger people kind of like this analog technology. They're playing 45s or they're specializing. 45s are 7 inches vinyl. Right now, even me, I'm on my 3rd version of collecting vinyl. I don't need music. I get it free from the station. I get it sent to me. I get 100 tracks a week and I have to delete a lot. I keep a lot. This year alone, I've downloaded 150 albums free because they send it to us. That's the good thing about being a volunteer.
2 more questions for you. I appreciate this. What kind of people run this station over the years? Can you tell us what are the sort of people, you have come and volunteer and work and collaborate and so?
Well, our volunteers are it's like anything in life. You could be a firefighter, police officer, you could work for the government. They're all just regular people from different walks of life. CKCU are usually an eclectic bunch. They're a creative bunch, energetic. They want to make a difference. They want their voice to be heard. I say that often, that our station is a place for the voiceless to have a voice. It's open to anybody, anytime. We have a process, really short, training, and you can learn so much. I have learned so much about the broadcasting industry, about the technical aspects, about how to produce a show, how to speak correctly, not pop my peas all the time. Yeah, we have pop screens, but it's still a technique. There's sibilance, don't want that. And then there's production techniques. You can do so much in post, but ideally you want to record things. So yeah, it's a bunch of characters giving their time to inform the public, and it could be through spoken word or it can be through music. We have some shows, and their only goal is to present music in that particular genre. It's very specialized. We have a classical show, and you'd say, oh, I like classical. It's like, I don't know. This is alternative classical. This is extreme classical. This is not just the classical music you're used to hearing by Beethoven. This is extreme artists in extreme countries. So it's been a great joy for me. I've been there for over 35 years as a volunteer. I had to take a break once, but right now I've been there for 25 years, and I never thought I'd be making it to the 50th anniversary, and I only have 2 more weeks to go, and I can say I made it.
I hear you're writing a book as well?
Yes, I'm not writing it because I'm not a writer. I'm not an editor. I can barely read or type, but I am producing a book, which is a collection of stories. I'm specifically interested in having the world see the pictures because I'm more a photographer. I'm more into, I hoard images. I collect images every day from the internet, from X, from different platforms. They're interesting. So I have about 4,000 pictures from CKCU, and I want the world to see them. Also,
How are you going to select and which ones and which ones you're not going to, like, what's your approach?
it's hard. We have a roadmap, and I was hoping it would be ready for November 15th, our birthday, but unfortunately it won't be. We're still working hard. There's, of course, been setbacks. I've never done a book, but we have a roadmap where all of the stories, and then I assign the pictures, and when the whole roadmap is green, it's an Excel spreadsheet. When it all becomes green, then we can go to print. So it's not all green yet. And part of that falls on me because, yes, I know the pictures I have, and I know the history. It's in my head. And the pictures aren't named. They're not saying 1962, so-and-so. They're named XYB, do, whatever. No good. So, yeah, I have to assign pictures to the stories, and then maybe some pictures are there, and I might change them out, because for many stories, we have many pictures, and the designers just kind of drop them there. But yeah, we might have to take some out or put some in. It's a big job. It's going to be 12 by 12 inches, hardcover coffee table book, and 12 by 12 because that's the shape of a vinyl album.
Sounds like an incredible project to launch. And I'm curious to know, before I ask you the last question, can the public submit photos that they might have from way back in the day in case something may be missing, or is that option available?
I would say no, to be totally honest. I'm at a stage where even trying to manage the stuff that I do know I need to get and the stuff I still need to scan, for example, I would say we're overwhelmed. And we probably have some stuff, I think we're good.
Last question. I believe there's an album, a 50th album. Tell us about that, please.
So that is the first vinyl album that CKCU has ever produced. It's kind of shocking, actually. This is a project that came out of the mind of Jeff LaRock, and Dave Aardvark certainly played a big role in it. It has 13 songs on it, and it's all local artists. And there was a selection committee. We had lots of submissions. Of course, not everyone can fit on vinyl album, but after the selection committee, we went through them all. We picked what we have, and it's more for people who love music. It's also a way of getting that name in front of people's eyes, and it's probably going to be, well, it is an amazing success. Probably be sold out by the time anyone hears this. I don't know. But yeah, it's called Still the Mighty. It'll be available, if not already, at any record store. We have great relationships with all the record stores. There's Vertigo, there's the Record Center, and of course, Compact Music on Bank Street. Those are just three, and I'm sure there's other stores that will have it too. But yeah, it's a collection of bands that are friendly to CKCU, that we know, and it also shows the diversity of music. It's a wide range of music. We've covered all the gamuts, I think. And it's interesting, there isn't a side one and a side two. There's an AM side and a PM side. So the AM is more energetic during the day, and the PM side is more chill for at night. So that's a cool little idea.
Last question, actually, if you don't mind. In this age of, AI and technological advancements and the internet, this, that, and the other, what do you think a community radio station, what role does it play within all that? Does it still have a voice? Does it still play a role?
You just triggered me in a sense. It's okay.
I can tell you're blind.
Well, it's like I'm so stunned that we are not more popular than we are. The city.
But you are. I mean, look at this crowd out here. There's people supporting. There's a fundraiser. People know CKCU, right? It's especially if you went to Carleton, you definitely know it. People in the community.
they know it, but not as much as I would like them to know it. Events like this, we haven't done events like this. This is not new, but it's been restored. We haven't done this for 20 years, this kind of in the community doing live remotes. And it takes a lot of work to get that to happen. It takes a lot of work for that to happen.
By the way, this is a very cool exhibit here. This is very, I was here earlier this morning and I was like, wow, look at this. This is incredible. Do you know how long it's staying? I don't mean it.
I know everything. It will be here till November 13th. Then we take it apart and we bring it to Ollie's at Carleton University. And anyone from the public can come to Ollie's on Friday, November 14th at 4 o'clock. We are having a meet and greet where all the volunteers will be there. All of our 50th anniversary stuff will be set up, more or less. It's open to the public. We'll have DJs spinning tunes, and we'll have a bunch of merch, and you'll see some alumni, some incredibly famous alumni. I can't go over the list. I need a piece of paper, but we have some incredibly famous alumni that will be coming to our dinner. Our dinners is, I won't say it's close to the public because it's our gala. There's a maximum hall number, but the Friday, the November 14th is a kind of a special night where people can come down and maybe buy the album too. We're going to have a few copies, pick up some merch, click and donate to our funding drive as well. But yeah, it's really, really exciting that our anniversary is coming. It's like I'm freaking out because it's only less than 2 weeks away. Really, today's November 1st, so I have 12 days to get everything ready. I didn't answer the question.
Please do.
Really? It was about CKCU not being popular. My point is we have a city of 1 million people, and I can say with certainty we know we have 4,000 listeners. Well, why isn't that 40,000? Why isn't that 400,000? What bothers me is people are set in their ways. Whatever station they were raised on is what they listen to. Can I ask you what you listen to these days?
Local CBC.
So I ask you why CBC. I'll tell you why. You get a bit of everything. It could be different CBCs. If it's 91.5, you're going to get information, get news. There might be some shows, especially on the weekend. If you want to hear classical, you go to 102.5, I think, and you'll listen to CBC Classical, and then they have The Drive, the morning show, great music. But CKCU, why aren't people listening to CKCU more? And I know why. It's because we don't follow that boom, 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 news on the hour and weather every 5 minutes and a dumb traffic report. Like, who needs a traffic report? Sorry, Doug Hempstead, who I know from CBC. But, that's a certain crowd. And I tell people, in the old days, we changed our channel on TV when we were tired. Why don't people change their radio when they're tired? People leave their car radio on one station. And even me, again, I'm a listener. I listen to CBC, and I switch back and forth between CKCU because, honestly, CKCU might freak you out if you tune in at the wrong time. So I always tell people, you got to listen and treat it, and you got to be really passionate about radio. So many people have radio as background noise. It's just there. And interesting, I've done science on this. If you turn off, like if you have an office environment and there's background, if you turn it off, people will notice in about 5 seconds. It's like, what's wrong? I don't hear noise. It's like, yeah, because it sucks. And I want to hear something better than your top 10 hits all day long.
Could it also be a generational shift in terms of listenership, demographic-wise?
I know.
Whereas people are...
No. My informal science...
And I mean in general, not just... and I don't mean just... I mean radio in general, whether it's community or commercial, because there's just been so many changes to the landscape, right, over the last decades. Because in my opinion, when you ask why aren't people listening to this station or any other station, I'm thinking, well, how big is the marketing budget? Who are you targeting? Are you doing events like these? I'm looking at this event and for full disclosure, you know how I found out about this event? I walked in here this morning to use the washroom, and I saw the ad over here. I was like, oh wow, 50th anniversary. Like I know CKCU. I went to Carleton, so I was like, oh, I got to come back for this because this is a major event. But I think outreach events like these will gain that presence. As you were saying, you guys just started doing this after 20 years. But what's your counter to the marketing push and the changing demographics of the landscape?
I have issues with labeling demographics. Like what am I? I can't think about I'm a boomer. Never mind boomer. And then there's X and millennials. It's like I have no use for that. Every generation has changes. You either adapt, you pivot, or you get mad at them. But they're here to stay. We have no control. Now, radio. I say, and what's troublesome, and I know this, is that if we have a 12-year-old listening to radio or listening to music, you know what they're listening to? Their parents' music, their parents' radio. Kids of today, they're still playing Led Zeppelin. Why? Because their parents have subjected that kid to Led Zeppelin. So it takes the unique individual to crack the mold and, that 12-year-old to say, no, I'm going to reject my parents' Led Zeppelin. I'm going to find my own hip-hop, my own alternative, my own heavy, my own industrial, my own goth. I know a 13-year-old, they're into goth, and there's a whole genre that I didn't know existed. Wow, it's extreme. Like, I'm used to extreme stuff. So I've learned that radio's coming back because people are getting tired of their Spotify playlists. Because again, they make a playlist, it's the same 100 songs, 200 songs over and over. CKCU, you might hate something you're hearing, but it'll be over in 2 or 3 minutes. And the next song might change your life. I'm a listener. And trust me, I can honestly say that 30% of programming does not appeal to me and won't appeal to the listener. Cool, that's okay. But that other 70%, I have heard one song by every announcer over the last 30 years that I've had to pull over and cry or take a note, and it's changed my life. It's that simple. I heard a song right here in that hall, the 4th stage, by Julian Taylor. Can I think of the song? I can't. But that song made me cry. That man was powerful. And that hall only holds 100 people or so. So, it's things like that matter. And if you live your life walking around with your face to your phone, with your headphones in your ear, and not look around and smell the roses, what they say, and, look and ask questions and talk to people. So that's changing, I think. I'm hearing young people liking older people too. They're helping them. Cool. They're getting more into radio. They're getting into cassettes, getting back into vinyl. And just for the record, get it, vinyl? The plural of vinyl is not vinyls. It's just vinyl. Because some kids are saying, hey, I'm going to go buy some vinyls today. It's like, oh, makes my head explode. So yeah, there's changes, there's technology, and what I'm curious about, I even spoke to my friend yesterday. It's like, what's going to happen in the next 20 years? Like, I've seen the birth of the cassette, the MP3 player, the CD, the whole shebang. So what's next? Like, how will it be something implanted in our head and we just think the song and it appears? I don't know. And AI, you mentioned AI. AI is just a fact of life. It can be used for evil. It can be used for good. And that's the big distinction. That's really what it's all about. Evil or good. If you can use it for good, excellent. Use it for evil, that's what's going to destroy us all.
Do you do any lectures or coach people or any presentations? Is that in the works? Yeah, I asked that because you're clearly very passionate about this and you have a lot of experience in it, and you're saying that there's a whole generation of new listeners, people who want to learn about radio, vinyl, etc. Like, is this something?
So it's funny you say that because
even formally or within an institute.
I have taught photography. I got not awards, but people thought I was a very good professor. At CKCU, I'm not going to say this, but a lot of people think I'm a clown. And so it's like, oh no, don't let him near anyone new. And it's like, you're missing the point. I can be very professional like I am now. I can stand up in front of strangers and be very professional. Do you want to really get to know me? Probably not. But as you see, and as I can talk about all these things. I can get into the technical details. And going back to something I said earlier, this was all free education that I got simply by volunteering. And there's so many places like, okay, here's a pitch for something other than radio. I learned about video by volunteering at Rogers. Yeah, if you want to learn about video, you can volunteer at Rogers. You know, if you want to learn about anything, you can find volunteer opportunities. And once you're in as a volunteer, you get education. Sometimes, if you're in an organization, that volunteer role becomes a job, and then it becomes a part-time job. It becomes a permanent job. You get your education, and then you move on free of charge. You don't need an education. I know journalism. Do I do it well? Probably not, but I know how it should be done. I know how it should be done, verbally. I know how it should be done technically. Am I qualified to be a journalism professor? No. We have the School of Journalism for that at Carleton University. My point is, I have learned so much by volunteering. Even at Blues Fest, you want to see how stuff is connected? Volunteer at Blues Fest. Volunteer at any fest. They always need volunteers. And yeah, you might be standing for 3 hours at the gate, but if you're good and you pay attention and you're keen, you can work your way up. Everyone has to start at the bottom and work your way up. You or me, we're not going to be YouTube superstars tomorrow. Not going to happen. And this is the problem.
I don't even want to be a YouTube.
But so many people think they're going to be. It's like, I'm staying in my basement because I'm going to be a hip hop star. No, you're not. You might, but honestly, you're not.
Right.
And you need a job that gives you Freedom 55. We need jobs to put a roof over our head. But my point is, you can get some amazing jobs. You can volunteer for just about anything and get a free education and save school and keep yourself busy. And you can volunteer at more than one place too.
Thank you very much for your time here and sharing all this information. I'm going to go check out the exhibit and read some of that info there. But thank you very much, Tick.
And now, our second guest, Lia Kiessling, Station Director at CKCU-FM.
Hi, I'm Lia Kiessling. I'm the Station Director for CKCU-FM.
What's it like being the Station Director for CKCU?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I am 3 months into the role now, and it's my first time leading a nonprofit, but it's such an incredible organization. It just feels like being part of an incredible family. Everybody is so passionate and so dedicated. It's making my job not only easy but quite enjoyable.
Were you familiar with the radio station before? Were you a listener?
Yes, I grew up with CKCU, so I'm from Ottawa. I spent a long time away over in Europe, but during my high school years, CKCU was the mainstay for me. I was always on the dial, and it's just such a beloved brand. And so, yeah, of course, always was. So happy to be here.
What role does it play within the Ottawa Gatineau community?
So CKCU is a community organization at its heart. I know a lot of folks refer to it or think of it, obviously, as a radio station, of course. It's a media organization, but really, 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 it's a community space. And we go out into the community to bring arts and culture to life, to have local journalism, local stories, local voices. So it's really a place where Ottawa can hear itself, and bring that to life. I mean, that type of local reporting and local arts and culture is so critical right now. If it goes away, we have a lot of data on how that will impact people's willingness to go out and vote, or impact local businesses, or to even get to know your neighbors so we trust each other more. And so CKCU is critical for that type of role.
What do you think, there's been so many changes to various media landscapes when we speak of broadcasting. How has those changes impacted community radio in particular? Has it changed it? Has it impacted it directly?
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of media consolidation. So all the big players being bought up and, consolidated. And that's difficult, because then Canadians or the world is getting sort of one type of voice and one type of story. And so the impact on CKCU, community radio is it's not as prevalent, but it's actually becoming more and more and more and more important because you hear all these diverse voices, these diverse stories. So for us, it's a really nice time to be in community radio and to push that message of diversity, allowing Ottawa to hear its true self from all voices, all languages, all cultures. And so for us, it's a really important time, even though, we do see community media shrinking across Canada. I think we've lost something like 250 papers in the last few years. It sort of
That's terrible.
I know. It makes our message, even more critical for, not only for CKCU, but we have other stations, CHUO or CATR Radio in Vancouver. There's so many stations in Indigenous communities that are critical. So it's really sort of a time for all of us to come together and really stand up for local voices and local stories and local culture and local language.
How do we get to certain demographics, let's say younger ones? How do we target that audience and get them to listen to the radio? I guess the question, what I'm asking is, there's a whole new generation of listeners out there who may not have never heard the radio. They we probably grew up at a time where the radio was always on at home, you know what I mean? And you were listening to the radio. And I don't know if that's the case nowadays, right? For people growing up. So how does a community radio station target audiences that are maybe hard to reach?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say, I worked internationally for, almost 20 years, and radio is still such a critical medium. It just depends where you are, and what country you're in. Radio is the most popular medium globally. So that is something to keep in mind. But
Where did you work in Europe?
I worked in Geneva, Switzerland. Yeah. So what's really important first to keep that in mind, that radio is still the most popular medium in the world. It's what stays on during emergencies. It's free. It's open. Everybody can tune in. So that's a really important message for young people. But I'm also a really big believer, go where your audience is. And so that's also what CKCU is doing. We're growing and expanding into video, into different platforms like YouTube or Twitch. We're looking at all those different channels as well, and where we can bring this culture. Radio is always going to be our heart and soul and our lifeblood, but really it's, we're sitting here at a live performance, and the goal of it is to get people to tune in. And it's for us, it's great. Tune in online, tune in on the radio itself, watch it on YouTube. We're live streaming right now. So I think is to understand our audience of younger folks, and to keep delivering content where they are, and to have that sort of empathy and understanding of our younger audiences.
But what's some of the feedback you've gotten from people who run the programs, listeners, sponsors, etc.? What are you getting? What sort of feedback?
Oh my gosh, it is so nice to be here. Everybody loves CKCU, and that's, it's such a healthy place in terms of, like I said at the beginning, dedicated volunteers. The staff loves it. And so the vibe is just excitement, and it's slightly intimidating for me about like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't screw this up. But, it's so nice to be part of a brand that people love and have all, like me, I'm 2 weeks older than the station. So I've grown up with it literally my entire life. And it's such a nice place to be, leading an organization like that. My gosh, I'm so lucky.
What in terms of like looking ahead at the future of radio, community radio, what are the themes that people are trying to wrap their heads around as we look at like the future of broadcasting and radio at a local level?
I think,
I asked that, sorry to interrupt, because I spoke to Tick and I was asking him about the same question and AI, and how that's disrupting it's disrupting everything, right? For good and bad, maybe, amongst other things. And I'm curious to know, like, what role, it's a two-part question, maybe I asked him this, what role does it play within the community, considering all these changes that are happening to our ecosystem, our information ecosystem? And yeah, but I guess we'll tackle that way.
Yeah, so from my background, just so you know, I worked in technology for 12 years, 13 years. I also, worked in an organization that focused on building and creating the internet. And I also worked for a health organization that focused on AI. So I come from the world of tech.
You have a really amazing background, it sounds like, and now you're heading a radio station. What happened there? This is interesting. There's another story here we can probably explore.
Yeah. So, I mean, I come from the world of tech, and I actually come from the Tech for Good movement, and I believe in technology, and I'm not afraid of it, and I think it's critical. What is really nice, though, about community radio is that it's human beings. It's the other side of the coin. So a lot of what we, in addition to media consolidation and, single voice of journalism, we're also being faced with algorithms and, being served up. I see it every day. I'm on Facebook, served up content based on what we like. My entire Facebook feed is dogs and puppies because that's what I love. But what's really nice about CKCU and community radio is that it's the opposite of that. It creates this, it's a kind of an odd time. It creates this space for human beings, and the need for humans and the need for music that isn't served up by an algorithm. So we get artists, for example, many of whom are playing today, that you might not necessarily hear because it doesn't fit your particular algorithm. So it exposes you to new ideas and new thinking, new arts, new culture, new languages, and that's simply because community radio and community media is created by human beings and not dictated by an algorithm. So it's sort of a funny thing to say, our unique value proposition is that we're people, and
There's a big demand for that now, I think, and there's also
what a time to be alive. People are like the big unique value prop. So I think for community radio and community media, whether that's radio or TV or a podcast by your local high school, or papers, our unique offering is the fact that we can bring you news and ideas that are much, much, much harder to find now because we're all kind of in our comfort bubbles. I am too. So I think that is really key for community radio.
Can you talk to us a bit about your experience in working in technology and navigating that in terms of what you know about AI and so on in relation to transitioning to this role? How will all that great experience benefit you in this role?
I think for me, I feel really lucky to have spent that time. So I come from technology, and a lot of tech, first of all, is community driven. When you start kind of getting into how tech is made and built, there's huge movements, excuse me, exactly like CKCU, of community dedicated volunteers building technology, looking at the opportunities that the internet can bring. And so I have that background just in terms of understanding what community volunteer organizations are. But I also think, I think there's a lot of hesitation and nervousness around technology these days, like, oh my gosh, robots are coming.
Do you sense that from some of the folks in the station?
I just think globally there's a lot of worry about what all this can mean. What does it mean for our jobs? What does it mean for our future? What does it mean for everything? What does it mean for new ideas? And so I think for me, because I come from that world, and I grew up with technology, my dad, basically, I remember this quite clearly. He bought me an Apple IIc computer with like a green screen monitor. And I remember he sat me down and he said, computers, they're going to be something. Got to learn it. And he made me play video games, and that's how I grew up. And so I've grown up with a very healthy appreciation for technology. And I'm a big believer in it and what it can bring. And so I think coming at it with a very objective look at it and not to be afraid of it, and to understand how can community media leverage technology for new opportunities and new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things, needs to be part of the discussion and needs to be on the table for us to grow and change, because that's where the world is going. So we need to look at it with a very grounded understanding that we are human beings, and that is primarily, we're community, we're people, and that is our offering. But technology can have a place and should have a place in there.
Do you think it's really interesting because as you know, like Ottawa has a huge R&D for technology. It's I think the biggest R&D center in the country,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, wow, with someone with your background, and now you're leading the station, do you see the possibility of maybe leaning in on and collaborating with that tech bubble in terms of engaging them maybe on sponsorship or maybe on conversations in regards to, algorithms and how they can kind of limit someone's ability to, discover new music? Because, for example, this station here, you've got the programming is so diverse in just about every way, linguistically, musically, culturally, right? So you expose yourself if you want. 24 hours, to 12 hours of the station, you can expose yourself to so much information. My question is, do you see, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but like with your background in tech, I think it's interesting because maybe there's an opportunity to engage that creative class of, developers and innovators and maybe bring them inside the creative tent here at the station.
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just brainstorming even.
No. I love it. I love a good brainstorm. I think all of that should be open, and that's part of who we are. I mean, how do we actually bring in new ideas and new thinking? So
Maybe they'll sponsor and because I think funding is always a big thing for just about anything. Sorry, I interrupted.
I will say in terms of culture, the world of community tech and the world of community radio are incredibly aligned. Like, same people. It's all, when I worked in technology, many of the people that I worked with that were volunteers were learning how to build and create internet connections so that they could create a radio station because it was so important to them. And it's a very culturally sort of very same approach in terms of involving technology and, in Ottawa, especially. I grew up here, so I know it very well. The folks over in Canada and all that, how do we bring them into discussions? We're always open to that. Everybody, there's a place for everybody at CKCU. So why would we not open our doors to these new ideas and new ways of thinking or discussions on panels or, I think the discussion needs to be had and we're definitely not afraid to have it. So for sure.
Back in the day, what shows did you listen to on the station? If you remember them?
I do. I remember actually being on when I was 17. I was on a show at CKCU. I did not host one, but I was a guest on one, which sort of started my career in journalism. It was a 4:00 show by a fellow named Roy Caffrey. It was called Roy Rides Me Raw from the Vaseline song. I remember that.
Vaseline? Okay, I don't remember, but okay.
Oh, there was you should listen to that.
I'll look it up on YouTube.
They're awesome. And I just remember sort of tuning into all sorts of programming from CKCU, and I worked in the music scene, and CKCU was always there, always there, and always just like the coolest logo to have on your t-shirt or to have a button of. So for me, it's kind of a, I know my background sounds impressive, but it's kind of a mind-blowing moment for me to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm heading up CKCU. Like that's really kind of the pinnacle of my career for me. It's just so lovely. So yeah.
Well, can you tell us one of your main objectives?
I think really, everybody asked me that question, and when
How unoriginal.
Well, no, I mean, I get asked that a lot, and I feel really unoriginal when I answer it because it's not really to do something earth-shattering. It's to really just bring it back to its roots, which is community, to be out and about in Ottawa, Gatineau, to be doing performances like this, to be having panel discussions, to work with other community organizations around Ottawa to see how we can build and bolster up that amazing spirit that's already there in Ottawa. That's why I love this city. I mean, I came back to this city a number of times, and I'm here for good. And it's such an inspiring place because of that community spirit and local culture that's here. And how can CKCU partner and work with other organizations to bring that up? How can we start really bringing awareness to the importance of community, especially in a time like this? Yeah. So yeah, that's my, that's kind of the one The one thing I'm looking at now is just how do we bring back that spirit of a community organization first and foremost. And yes, we're all, bound together by our love of radio, of media, of music, of arts, culture, local journalism, but really we are a community-minded organization.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to our guest today, Michael Houston, aka Tick, and CKCU Station Director Lia Kiessling. And a special shout out to Chris White for connecting us to these two great guests. We tried to interview Chris too, but he disappeared like a musical ninja. We'll get him next time. Make sure you tune in to CKCU 93.1 FM, listen online at ckcufm.com, and follow CKCU across social media for all the 50th anniversary celebrations. This is Strictly Creative, available on all podcast platforms.